What about climate change, though? These proposed labs are in the ballpark of $500 million to create, with currently unknown greenhouse gas emission levels.
This is better for the environment.
I mean, in the future, that's the hope. I would say right now, it's pretty unclear.
Though I am going to talk about that later. Let's assume it's zero for argument's sake. If my math is right, that would mean to make just a 1% dent in the meat market and its emissions, it will cost, on the low end, nearly $17 billion for a 1% reduction. But that again still assumes the labs will be sustained completely by renewable energy and that they will have zero emissions. And these emissions don't even take into account the mining and all the supply line needs just to manufacture these facilities. And we don't have time to go into it in detail, but it is worth mentioning. According to Dr. Frank Mitloehner, who is something of an expert on this, if the entire US went vegan for a year, which we know it won't, that would only decrease greenhouse gas emissions by 2.6%. By the way, did I mention his entire job is researching ways to decrease the environmental impact of livestock? So why is this being presented to us as a climate solution when it doesn't even look like cutting all meat consumption would even matter? I'll link the transcript for the full interview below for those who are curious, by the way. It is worth checking out. But worse than that is that according to this study that is currently undergoing peer review, the lab-grown meat industry at scale could release between 4 and 25 times more emissions than the entire global beef industry as it is today. I saw some people propose that lab-grown meat could be vegan, as well as halal and kosher, and I think it actually has some merit to it. Let me explain. If you take something and go far back enough in its history, it will inevitably be preceded by some use of animal cruelty, either directly or indirectly. If you thrift a leather jacket, you technically didn't support the industry that killed the animal. Cruelty-free products use science, machines, and processes that were first developed through or with the intention of being used on animals. Being that they now have cruelty-free application, or that you didn't directly support the animal harm, wouldn't it kind of make it okay in the same way? If the first cells taken to begin that process were taken years and years ago, like that leather jacket, for example, and the cells were taken in accordance with kosher and halal guidelines, wouldn't the final product over time be acceptable? Put another way, Tootsie Rolls. Did you know that ever since they were made, they take the last little bit of every single batch and toss it in to start the next one? Sure, in theory, it's possible that you are consuming the very first Tootsie Roll ever made, but it is unlikely. As one YouTuber said, I think we all get caught up in the hard and fast rules and definitions for vegan and vegetarianism. Personally, I think cultivated meat is mind-blowing. If there is an ethical way to eat meat for both planet and animals, I'm here for it. Few people will look at the modern conveniences of life and dig into the fact that almost none of civilization was built on vegan, halal, or kosher practices. But for lab-grown meat, there does seem to be a little bit of agreement in two areas.
It would need to come from a kosher species of animal. So it still retains the identity of the animal that it came from, if we could put it like that.
The cell is taken from the pig and it is made into flesh, then still you are eating the flesh of or a meat of a pig.
So animals that aren't halal or kosher still are not. So basically, no bacon, no pork sausage.
If you have slaughtered the animal properly and you have preserved part of that meat and you are using it in the lab and then you're producing meat from that, it's halal.
As I said earlier, it's got to be slaughtered properly.
But here's the problem. Many lab-grown meat companies are taking cells from animals still alive, and killing animals kind of goes against their ethos of no animals were harmed in the making of this burger.
It may well be that only if the cells are taken after slaughter would the lab-grown meat be kosher.
Time will tell, but this generally seems to mostly have a green light as far as religious contexts go. I suppose the vegans still need to argue it out. Man, if you thought that clip was crazy, wait till you hear the full context in this deep dive. Hit that top video right there, and I'll see you there.